Beloved, a quiet awareness is settling within you, and it is changing the way your spirit understands safety. You are no longer being trained by fear to stay alert for danger at every moment. Instead, God is replacing constant vigilance with grounded assurance, so your discernment can remain sharp without your body living in tension. This new steadiness does not depend on perfect circumstances. It allows you to walk through uncertainty without surrendering your peace. A subtle confidence is beginning to shape the way you stand, the way you speak, and the way you choose when to move. You are learning to respond instead of react. Your decisions are no longer born from pressure, panic, or the need to prove yourself. They are beginning to rise from clarity, and that clarity is evidence of healing taking root within you. Archangel Michael witnesses this refinement as a sign that old restraint is losing its grip. Where urgency once pushed you into motion, deliberate choice is now taking its place. Patterns that depended on your hesitation are weakening, and quiet momentum is building through consistency rather than force. Progress no longer needs to be defended or explained. You are moving forward because something inside you has finally come into agreement with what heaven is unfolding around you. This effortless advancement is not laziness or delay. It is alignment becoming natural. Expect your interactions to shift as this inner order becomes visible. Conversations will feel shorter, clearer, and less draining. Boundaries will begin to speak for themselves without long explanations or emotional exhaustion. God is aligning your surroundings to reflect the balance being restored inside you. A deeper sense of worth is stabilizing beneath your thoughts, deeper than performance, productivity, or comparison. You are beginning to understand that your presence carries value even before you do anything. Archangel Michael affirms that this kind of intrinsic worth becomes an anchor for freedom. When you know who you are without needing outside confirmation, external pressure loses its authority over you. What once pulled you off center will no longer be able to reclaim control. Moments of insight may arrive suddenly, answering questions that have lingered inside you for a long time. These realizations will not come with chaos or drama. They will settle into your spirit smoothly because the resistance inside you has softened. Understanding is beginning to flow instead of collide with fear. You are no longer fighting every truth that comes to set you free. You are allowing wisdom to land gently, and that gentleness is becoming part of your strength. Your energy is becoming more intentional now. Your attention is gathering around what nourishes your growth, your peace, and your purpose. Distractions that once pulled at you will begin to lose their power. Focus will strengthen naturally, creating space for deeper creativity and more purposeful engagement. You will not have to force yourself into every next step. As trust expands beyond circumstances and into process, you will begin to recognize movement even during seasons that appear still. God orchestrates beneath visibility, arranging timing with precision. Patience becomes collaboration rather than waiting. Remain attuned to bodily cue signaling alignment. Ease replaces strain. Breathe Stevens. Sleep restores. These signals confirm coherent settling across layers of experience. As this integration continues, gratitude surfaces quietly, grounded in recognition rather than relief. Appreciation anchors presence, reinforcing stability. Liberation matures through acknowledgement. Proceed gently. Honor subtlety. Maintain awareness. What unfolds next will feel unsurprising, as though your path always curved toward this openness. A new orientation is quietly taking root, adjusting how direction is sensed rather than chosen. You are no longer scanning constantly for signs of threat or loss. Instead, perception relaxes into observation. God is teaching you how to stand within the present moment without needing to defend it. And from the ground it stands, movement becomes natural rather than forced. There is a refinement happening in how you interpret pauses. What once felt like delay now feels like calibration. Silence carries instruction. Bass carries meaning. Archangel Michael reveals that wisdom often enters during intervals that appear empty to the hurried mind. You are learning to read those intervals correctly. Internal dialogue is softening. The voice that once questioned every step is losing authority. Knowing that does not argue, does not rush, does not compete. This knowing does not need proof. It recognizes alignment through resonance rather than reassurance. You may notice your emotional responses changing texture. Reactions feel lighter, less sticky, easier to release. Situations pass through you instead of embedding themselves. This permeability is freedom expressing itself through emotional fluidity. God designed you to experience life, not to carry it indefinitely. What truly fits rather than what merely appears. Desire becomes honest. Preference becomes clear. Archangel Michael confirms that clarity of desire prevents future compromise, preserving the freedom now stabilizing within you. There will be moments where you recognize yourself responding differently than expected, choosing calm. Conflict 1 seemed automatic. These moments are markers. They show integration in progress. Each conscious choice reinforces liberation without effort. Your relationship with uncertainty is transforming. Unknown territory no longer signals danger, but possibility. Curiosity replaces dread. This shift alters how opportunities are perceived, making room for exploration without fear of loss. Energy now circulates more evenly. Peaks and crashes smooth into rhythm. Productivity aligns with capacity. Restaurants with renewal. God restores balance by teaching you to honor natural cycles rather than resist them. Connections around you may suddenly rearrange. Some deepen effortlessly. Others drift without drama. This sorting is organic, guided by resonance rather than rejection. Archangel Michael ensures that what remains supports growth. Stay present with these changes. Do not label them prematurely. Allow experience to unfold fully before interpretation. Freedom settles most securely when it is lived rather than analyzed. What approach is you? Next we'll meet readiness, not resistance. You will recognize it not by intensity, goodbyes. It will fit without persuasion. And when it arrives, it will feel less like arrival and more like alignment, finally made visible. Gentle witness, shaping response before logic intervenes. Orientation shifts inwardly, guiding action through felt sense rather than calculation. This recalibration allows choice to arise without strain, creating forward motion that feels inevitable instead of compelled. Influence gathers quietly, organizing experience through harmony rather than insistence. Attention now gravitates toward authenticity, filtering noise without effort. Signals once overlooked become legible, not because they grew louder, but because listening inside arrives unannounced. Integrate smoothly. Then informs behavior with subtle authority. This is discernment stabilized, not sharpened through conflict, but refined through trust. What lies ahead carries a sense of permission, as though something within you is finally being allowed to move forward without apology. This shift does not erase your past, it redeems. Every delay refined discernment, every disappointment sharpened wisdom. None of it is wasted, and none of it follows you as a burden anymore. You may notice a growing disinterest in situations that once consumed your energy. That is not apathy, it is alignment. When inner direction changes, all attachments loosen naturally. Archangel Michael speaks of a moment where clarity replaces tolerance, where you no longer endure what drains you simply because it is familiar. There is also a soft courage rising inside you, not loud or aggressive, but steady. It encourages different responses, quieter boundaries, truer choices. Miscarriage does not fight. Did redirects. It allows you to step away from cycles that once felt unavoidable. God is introducing simplicity into your life, not by removing responsibility, but by removing unnecessary weight. Complexity born from fear is dissolving. What remains will feel lighter, clearer, more honest. Freedom often feels like ease after long tension, and that easing has already begun. Expect moments of confirmation that feel gentle yet undeniable. A sentence spoken by someone else, a sudden understanding, an unexpected opening. These are not coincidences. They are alignment stacking quietly in your favor. Archangel Michael reminds you that protection does not always look like prevention. Sometimes it appears as redirection. What did not work out saved you from paths that would have limited your growth. Gratitude may come later, but peace will arrive first. Not blind trust, but informed surrender, the kind that comes from knowing you have done all you could, and now it is time to allow loud life to respond differently. Your future holds movement, not stagnation. Expansion, not confinement. Expression, not suppression. What once felt unreachable is becoming accessible because you are no longer approaching it from the same. Stay conscious of this shift. Do not rush past it. Let it integrate fully. Freedom is not an event. It is a state that grows stronger the more you honor it. This message continues to reach you because your spirit is listening. Remain attenti. Remain open. What unfolds next will feel like alignment settling into reality. Quietly, steadily, unmistakably. Beloved presence, something irreversible is taking shape within the unseen layers of your life. And once awareness touches it, return becomes impossible. This unfolding is gentle yet decisive, like dawn spreading without announcement, altering everything simply by arising. God is not rushing you forward. He is inviting you to notice how differently you now respond to moments that once unsettled you. That difference is evidence of inner release already underway. A quiet separation is occurring between who you were conditioned to be and who you are now permitted to be. Old roles are loosening their grip, not through conflict, but true irrelevance. What once demanded constant effort no longer commands the same attention. Archangel Michael reveals that this is how bondage ends, not with struggle, but with disengagement. Your perception has widened, allowing discernment to operate without anxiety. Where confusion once clouded judgment, this clarity is not temporary. It is a permanent adjustment, one that shifts how choices present themselves to you. Freedom often begins when options feel honest instead of overwhelming. There will be moments when you realize you are no longer waiting. Anticipation fades, replaced by steadiness, patience. God has been cultivating resilience, not as armor, but as confidence, rooted in knowing you can move forward without forcing outcomes. To act without excess explanation. This simplicity is sacred. It clears pathways for blessings that require openness rather than negotiation. Archangel Michael guards this process, ensuring that clarity remains protected from dist. What approaches you now carries compatibility with your growth. It will not demand you shrink, rush, or compromise integrity. Expansion feels natural when alignment is present. That naturalness will be your confirmation. Stay receptive to subtle shifts in timing. Certain delays will suddenly dissolve, while others will reveal purpose. Trust that adjustments are precise. Nothing is random at this stage. Heaven orchestrates with intention when freedom is near. Your inner landscape is changing, and the outer world will follow. Reaction soften, decision strengthen. Directions stabilizes. These are signs that release has already begun expressing itself through you. Remain present with this transformation. Do not rush its integration. Freedom deepens when honored gently. What unfolds next will feel less like surprised and more like recognition, as though your soul quietly knew this moment was coming all along. Beloved awareness, an unfamiliar calm is settling around your decisions, not because uncertainty vanished, but because fear no longer directs movement. This composer marks a crossing point where impulse yields to discernment, where instinct cooperates with wisdom rather than battling it. God is guiding progression through quiet confidence, not urgency, shaping outcomes through steadiness instead of strain. A recalibration is occurring within motivation itself. Desires once fueled by lack are transforming into intentions rooted in wholeness. This change alters attraction, drawing experiences that resonate with authenticity rather than compensation. Archangel Michael observes this internal shift as the true signal that liberation is active, not with what you feared becoming. Notice how time feels different lately. Moment stretch with meaning. Pause this field purposeful. Waiting no longer feels empty. This temporal adjustment reflects inner harmony emerging. When alignment deepens, patience transforms into presence, allowing insight to arrive without resistance. Your environment may respond sadly, reflecting internal order through unexpected cooperation, smoother exchanges, fewer obstacles. These are echoes of inner clarity projecting outward. God often adjusts surroundings to mirror restored balance, creating ease where friction once dominated. Unknown territory now evokes curiosity. Possibility expands. Exploration unfolds confidently because grounding remains intact. Security arises internally, allowing openness toward novelty without fear of loss. Sustain attentiveness to these shifts. Honor nuance. Allow continuity to deepen. Integration matures through lived presence rather than evaluation. What manifests next will resonate immediately. Recognize through fit rather than spectacle. Confirming alignment, translating seamlessly into experience. Beloved presence, a quiet mastery is forming within you, one that does not announce itself. Awareness now moves ahead of habit, guiding direction before old impulses can interfere. Life begins to respond differently because you are meeting it from a centered place, neither reaching, simply available. There is an internal spaciousness expanding, giving thoughts room to pass without attachment, leaving insight rather than tension. This mental openness allows intuition to surface cleanly, unobstructed by fear or expectation. Guidance becomes immediate, felt rather than debated. Your sense of identity is softening around the edges, releasing rigid definitions that once limited expression. You are no longer confined by former narratives or inherited roles. This flexibility grants freedom to adapt without losing essence. You remain yourself while evolving naturally. Moments of choice now carry a gentle certainty. Even when outcomes remain unseen, direction feels correct. You move forward without needing guarantees. Energy responds accordingly. Effort aligns with inspiration. Action feels timely. Fatigue diminishes because resistance has less space to operate. You engage fully, then rest completely, honoring cycles rather than overriding them. Interactions reflect this shift. Others sense clarity and respond with ease. Communication simplifies. Boundaries hold without defense. Mutual respect replaces explanation. Relationships reorganize around authenticity, strengthening what supports growth while releasing what does not. Attention turns inward during uncertainty, finding stability without withdrawal. You remain engaged while centered, flexible while grounded. This balance allows adaptation without compromise. Open this without vulnerability. Creative flow deepens, guided by curiosity rather than outcome. Expression feels exploratory, unburdened by judgment. Ideas emerge organically, inviting participation rather than performance. This playfulness nurtures innovation and sustains engagement. External rhythm aligns with inner cadence. Opportunities arise proportionate to readiness. Timing feels cooperative. Support appears without pursuit. These reflections confirm coherence, extending beyond personal experience into shared real. Remain attentive to this unfolding without urgency. Allow familiarity to build gently. Freedom is integrating through repeated presence, not through intensity. What approaches next will feel natural, almost familiar, as if your spirit already knows how to receive it. You will recognize it through ease, because alignment is no longer becoming a temporary moment for you. It is becoming your default state. Momentum is now being shaped through subtle consent instead of forceful command. Something inside you has stopped fighting life, and because of that, life can finally meet you without friction. Your orientation is settling inwardly, allowing the next experience to arrive without the old resistance competing for your attention. Life begins to respond to this openness by offering pathways that feel intuitive. Things unfold with less pushing, less proving, and less pressure than before. Movement becomes graceful because your spirit is no longer spending all its strength trying to defend against what is already leaving. An internal generosity is emerging toward uncertainty. You are giving discovery room to happen without letting fear take over the room. Curiosity is replacing vigilance, and exploration begins to feel supported by your steadiness instead of threatened by the unknown. Your perception is continuing to refine itself. You are learning to distinguish signal from distraction without overthinking every detail. What matters becomes clear faster, and what does not belong loses its pull over your energy. Focus is aligning with meaning now. This allows your vitality to be conserved while your impact becomes stronger. You are no longer scattering yourself across everything that calls for your attention. You are beginning to recognize what truly deserves your presence. This new efficiency does not make your life smaller. It expands your life through clarity, because when confusion falls away, more space opens for joy, creation, connection, and peace. Emotionally, softness is deepening within you, but it is not making you fragile. You can feel more without being consumed by what you feel. Your heart is becoming open and strong at the same time. Feeling can now move through you more freely. You meet moments fully, and then you release them cleanly. Joy can be felt without clinging, and challenge can be faced without leaving a permanent imprint on your spirit. This fluidity protects your presence. You can engage with life without carrying everything afterward. You can care deeply without collecting every burden as your own. Intentionality is maturing inside you. Your actions are being guided more by resonance than urgency. Purpose is becoming clearer, and because of that, it requires fewer explanations. Alignment is expressing itself through choices that feel obvious to your soul. You do not need to negotiate endlessly with yourself to know what feels right. The more congruent you become, the less energy you waste convincing yourself to abandon your truth. Your daily rhythm is harmonizing even further. Transitions become smoother, and your pace adjusts more instinctively. You begin to move when inspiration rises and pause when restoration is needed. Balance is no longer something you must manage with constant effort. It is becoming something you live from. This allows continuity to remain steady even when the demands around you continue to change. Relational dynamics are shifting gently as well. Encounters begin to feel more complete, and exchanges resolve more cleanly. Mutual understanding arises without persuasion because you are no longer trying to force connection where resonance is absent. Compatibility organizes itself through ease, reinforcing bonds that support evolution while loosening others without conflict. Creativity finds fertile ground in this stability. Imagination engages playfully, exploring without pressure. Innovation surfaces organically, guided by interest rather than expectation, Expression feels authentic. Inviting participation rather than validation. Circumstantial alignment continues responding. Timing cooperates. Resources synchronize. Opportunities present proportionate to readiness. These correspondences reflect internal coherence, mirrored outwardly, strengthening trust. Unfolding progression. Remain present with this maturation. Allow familiarity to deepen. Integration strengthens through consistency, not intensity. What emerges next will feel anticipated by your inner landscape. Recognize through harmony rather than surprise, confirming that freedom has transitioned from prom. Listen to live reality. Beloved awareness. A refined intelligence now operates beneath conscious planning, arranging experiences through alignment rather than effort. Directions feels self-organizing, as though life itself is cooperating with your readiness. You no longer chase momentum. Momentum recognizes you. This reciprocity transforms progress into partnership, easing forward motion without demon fishing intention. My child, God is faithful to complete what He begins. The miracle does not depend on your strength, only on your consent. Say yes with your awareness. Say yes with your willingness. Say yes by not walking away from this moment too quickly. My beloved, remain here a little longer. Let these words settle. Freedom is not rushing you, but it is waiting. And Archangel Michael stands at the threshold, ready to move the moment you align. If you want me to continue this into the next long section in the same flow, without repeating words, keeping hooks strong and engagement high, just say continue, and I will carry it forward seamlessly. My beloved soul, something delicate yet powerful is unfolding around you right now, and it requires presence rather than haste. What is moving toward you carries a different energy than past answers you waited for. This is not rescue, not escape, but expansion. Heaven is not removing you from life. It is widening your life so you can finally move without tension, without the quiet pressure that has followed you for so long. Archangel Michael reveals that this moment asks for awareness more than action, because alignment happens internally before anything changes outwardly. There has been an invisible pattern shaping your days, subtle yet persistent, influencing decisions, reactions, even the way you imagine tomorrow. God is not judging this pattern. He is dissolving it. The miracle forming now works like light entering a sealed room, not forcing walls to collapse, but illuminating exits you could not see before. Freedom often arrives is understanding first, and that understanding is being offered to you now. Your spirit has matured through waiting, through unanswered questions, through seasons where effort did not equal outcome. That growth was not wasted. If you find your perception so you would recognize this opening when it appeared, Archangel Michael speaks of readiness that was built quietly, not through achievement, but through endurance, reflection, and inner honesty. You are not late, you are prepared. Pay attention to what feels lighter lately, even if circumstances have not fully shifted. Relief often begins internally before it becomes visible. A release is happening in the unseen, loosening agreements you made with limitation when you believe there was no alternative. Those agreements are expiring now. They no longer have authority over your future. God is not asking you to abandon responsibility or stability. He is inviting you to abandon restriction, disguise the safety. Sun structures around you were built during survival seasons. They cannot support the version of you that is what is emerging. Archangel Michael stands as guardian during transitions like this, ensuring that what leaves does not take from you what you still need. There may be moments ahead where silence replaces certainty, where clarity feels delayed by a breath. Do not rush to fill that silence. Stillness is part of alignment. It allows truth to surface without distortion. What is meant to free you requires space to arrive fully formed. Notice how your intuition has sharpened recently, recognizing shifts before they announce themselves. That sensitivity is not weakness, it is guidance strengthening. Heaven communicates through awareness long before events manifest. Trust that subtle knowing. It is leading you correctly. This miracle does not come with pressure. Windows do not remain open indefinitely, not because God withdraws, but because seasons change. Alignment is responding while the invitation is active. Archangel Michael urges attentiveness now so you do not overlook what arrives gently rather than dramatic. You are being repositioned, not replaced. Realigned, not corrected. What is being set free in your life will create movement in areas that once felt stagnant. Energy will return where exhaustion lived. Hope will rise where resignation settled. Direction will replace confusion without struggle. Remain open to unfamiliar opportunities. Some answers will arrive through conversations. Others through sudden clarity, others through doors opening without resistance. Do not overanalyze the forum. Freedom rarely looks like expectation. It feels like relief. God has not forgotten your prayers that went unanswered. Many were delayed because the outcome required you to become someone who could sustain the blessing without losing. That becoming has happened. Now release is possible. Archangel Michael assures protection as transitions unfold. You are not walking alone. Support surrounds you, even if unseen. Guidance is active, adjusting paths, softening obstacles, strengthening resolve. Stay attentive, stay receptive, let go without fear. What is leaving was never meant to define you permanently. What is arriving will not bind you, it will expand you. This is the moment to remain conscious rather than distracted, present rather than rushed. Freedom responds to awareness, and you are aware now. Beloved one, as this message unfolds further, allow yourself to receive without questioning why it feels so personal, because truth always recognizes its own destination. There is a subtle recalibration happening within you, like a quiet tuning that adjusts direction without noise. God is not rewriting your story. He is restoring its original rhythm, the one you almost forgot while adapting to circumstances that demanded more from you than they should have. What lies ahead carries a sense of permission, as though something within you is finally being allowed to move forward without apology. This shift does not erase your past. It redeems. Every delay refined discernment. Every disappointment sharpened wisdom. None of it is wasted, and none of it follows you as a burden anymore. You may notice a growing disinterest in situations that once consumed your energy. That is not apathy, it is alignment. When inner direction changes, old attachments loosen naturally. Archangel Michael speaks of a moment where clarity replaces tolerance, where you no longer endure what drains you simply because it is familiar. There is also a soft courage rising inside you, not loud or aggressive, but steady. It encourages different responses, quieter boundaries, truer choices. This courage does not fight, redirects. It allows you to step away from cycles that once felt unavoidable. A recalibration is occurring within motivation itself. Desires once fueled by lack are transforming into intentions rooted in wholeness. This change alters attraction, drawing experiences that resonate with authenticity rather than open station. Archangel Michael observes this internal shift as the true signal that liberation is active, because what you seek now aligns with who you are, not with what you feared becoming. Notice how time feels different lately. Waiting no longer feels empty. This temporal adjustment reflects inner harmony emerging. When alignment deepens, patience transforms into presence, allowing insight to arrive without resistance. Your environment may respond subtly, reflecting internal order through unexpected cooperation, smoother exchanges, fewer obstacles. These are echoes of inner clarity projecting outward. God often adjusts surroundings to mirror restored balance, creating ease where friction once dominated. There is also an invitation to redefine success beyond accumulation or approval. Fulfillment now stems from congruence, from living in agreement with inner truth. Archangel Michael affirms that fulfillment grounded in authenticity sustains freedom far longer. Pay attention to communication during this phase. Words spoken from clarity carry influence without force. Silence chosen from understanding holds power without explanation. Both are tools of alignment when used consciously. Energy one, scattered across obligations, is consolidating. Focus sharpens. Directions simplifies. This concentration enables momentum without exhaustion. Freedom expresses itself through efficient movement rather than frantic effort. Allow this integration to continue without interruption. Resist the urge to revert to old patterns during moments of unfamiliar stillness. Growth often feels quiet after prolonged turbulence. That quiet signal stabilization, not stagnation. What approaches you now will recognize your readiness. Opportunities resonate, connections align. Pathways open with less negotiation has been reached. Remain attentive to this unfolding. Honor it through mindful choices, gentle trust, conscious presence. Liberation strengthens when acknowledged without rush. What unfolds next will feel inevitable in hindsight, as though every step prepared you for this exact moment of release. Beloved listener, something subtle yet decisive is rearranging how meaning forms inside you, altering interpretation before events even unfold. This internal shift creates a new lens through which experiences arrived already softened, already clarified. What enters your life now meets discernment instead of defense. Search refinement prevents old reactions from steering new chapters. An easing is taking place within expectation. You are no longer bracing for disappointment, nor leaning toward anticipation shaped by past outcomes. Neutrality settles, creating space for genuine surprise. Archangel Michael observes this neutrality as fertile ground, where blessings arrived without resistance and lessons integrate without sting. Momentum will feel smoother because resistance is diminishing. Choices begin aligning with intuition effortlessly, reducing internal debate. When inner consent is present, progress requires less explanation. This efficiency marks freedom, expressing itself through simplicity. There is an emerging respect for your own boundaries, not as walls, what is guidelines that preserve energy. You will notice increased selectivity regarding commitments, conversations, environments. This selectivity is wisdom maturing, not withdrawal. God honors discernment that protects growth. External validation will gradually lose influence. Satisfaction arises from coherence between intention and action. Archangel Michael confirms that self-trust strengthens rapidly once approval-seeking dissolves. Confidence anchored internally withstands fluctuation. Circumstances ahead may challenge old habits briefly. Testing weather patterns truly released remain inactive. Respond gently. Observation replaces reaction. Choice replaces compulsion. Each conscious response reinforces liberation already achieved. Creative impulses may surface unexpectedly, inviting expression without pressure. These impulses reflect reclaimed vitality. When life energy flows unobstructed, inspiration follows naturally, without agenda. Rest will feel restorative rather than escapists. Stillness replenishes instead of delaying. God recalibrates rhythm so movement and pause cooperate harmoniously. Balance replaces extremes as alignment deepens. Gratitude will emerge quietly, not as obligation, but recognition. Appreciation arises spontaneously when freedom stabilizes. This gratitude strengthens awareness, anchoring presence. Stay attentive to subtle confirmations. Synchronicities cluster. Opportunities resonate. Guidance appears conversational rather than directive. These signals affirm coherence between intention and unfolding. Honor this progression without haste. Integration completes itself through patience. Liberation matures through consistency. What arrives next will feel natural, as though you have always been walking toward this moment. Beloved consciousness, an inward settling is rewriting how safety is defined within you, replacing vigilance with grounded assurance. This transition does not dull awareness, allowing discernment to function without tension. God is cultivating steadiness that does not depend on outcomes, enabling you to move through uncertainty without forfeiting peace. A subtle confidence now informs posture, tone, and timing. You respond rather than react. Decisions emerge from clarity instead of pressure. Archangel Michael witnesses this refinement as evidence that restraint has loosened its hold, making living room for deliberate choice. Where urgency once dictated motion, intention now leads. Patterns that thrived on hesitation are losing influence. Momentum builds quietly, propelled by consistency rather than force. Progress no longer demands justification. This effortless advancement signals internal agreement, aligning with unfolding circumstances. Expect interactions to shift accordingly. Conversations feel concise. Boundaries communicate themselves without explanation. Dutch cheese reflects in an order projecting outward. God aligns surroundings to mirror restored equilibrium. Stay present with these changes. Do not label them prematurely. Allow experience to unfold fully before interpretation. Freedom settles most securely when it is lived rather than analyzed. What approaches you next will meet readiness, not resistance. You will recognize it not by intensity, goodbyes. It will fit without persuasion. And when it arrives, it will feel less like arrival and more like alignment finally made visible. Gentle witness, shaping response before logic intervenes. Orientation shifts inwardly, guiding action through felt sense rather than calculation. This recalibration allows choice to arise without strain, creating forward motion that feels inevitable instead of compelled. Influence gathers quietly, organizing experience through harmony rather than insistence. Attention now gravitates toward authenticity, filtering noise without effort. Signals once overlooked become legible, not because they grew louder, but because listening inside arrives unannounced. Integrate smoothly, then informs behavior with subtle authority. This is discernment stabilized, not sharpened through conflict, but refined through trust. Emotional currents begin to flow with less turbulence. Intensity softens into clarity. Attachment loosens into appreciation. Events passed through awareness, leaving understanding rather than residue. Search permeability preserves vitality, ensuring engagement without depletion. Movement continues, yet nothing cleanses. Motivation restructures itself around alignment. Aspirations no longer chase approval or escape discomfort. Intention becomes clean, focused, congruent. From this place, progress accelerates while effort decreases. Lines with capacity. Rhythm recalibrates daily patterns. Wakefulness feels present. Activity feels intentional. Stillness feels nourishing. Extremes dissolve into cadence. Balance becomes experiential rather than conceptual, guiding pacing through intuition instead of obligation. Communication transforms accordingly. Expression grows, concise, accurate, resonant. Listening deepens without labor, leaving closure rather than ambiguity. This clarity protects energy and strengthens connection simultaneously. Circumstances respond with cooperation. Friction reduces. Timing the lines. Resources appear proportionate. These shifts mirror internal order projecting outward, creating environments that support continuity rather than challenge it. Creativity resurfaces playfully, unburdened by expectation. Ideas arrived curious, exploratory, inviting experimentation. Engagement becomes joyful rather than strategic, allowing expression without consequence anxiety. Uncertainty reframes itself as invitation. Unknown stimulate curiosity instead of caution. Exploration feels safe because grounding remains intact. From this security, growth unfolds organically free for emergency. Sustain attentiveness to these nuances. Honor incremental changes without dramatization. Integration completes through live consistency. What presents itself next will resonate immediately. Recognized by compatibility rather than spectacle, confirming that alignment has moved from in. The love of awareness, an effortless steadiness now accompanies intention, shaping movement without insistence. Orientation feels anchored, allowing curiosity to replace caution while maintaining disc. Experience organizes itself through resonance, guiding progression with subtle certainty rather than pressure. This coherence supports expansion that honors capacity, preventing excess while encouraging exploration. A renewed relationship with choice emerges, marked by confidence in timing. Decisions unfold organically, informed by attunement rather than analysis. Insight integrates swiftly, directing action without hesitation. Search fluency reflects internal harmony, stabilizing across perception, emotion, and response. Presence Stevens within ordinary moments. Simple activities carry meaning. Attention lingers naturally, revealing texture previously overlooked. This richness signals reconnection with immediacy, where fulfillment arises through engagement rather than pursuit. Awareness itself is becoming a reward, my beloved. You are beginning to notice the quiet beauty of being present without needing to control everything. Because of this, the way you relate to others is also changing. Listening now creates understanding without strain. Your expression carries safety, honesty, and steadiness. Mutual recognition begins to replace the old need to negotiate for space, love, or respect. This clarity allows connection to grow without costing you your freedom. Relationships can now support your becoming instead of pulling you away from yourself. Love no longer has to feel like losing your center. Your vitality is beginning to move more evenly through your life. Momentum can continue without draining you, and rest is starting to replenish you more deeply. Your movement is becoming aligned with the energy you actually have, not the pressure you used to obey. Balance is no longer just an idea. It is becoming something you can feel in your body, your timing, and your choices. You are learning to pace yourself through intuition instead of forcing yourself through discipline alone. This deeper equilibrium is building resilience within you. You can adapt to change without losing your peace. External conditions will begin to adjust subtly, bringing opportunities that match your readiness and support that arrives in the right measure. Obstacles will begin to lose their force because they no longer belong to where you are going. Some barriers will fade simply because they are no longer relevant to your path. This is heaven reflecting your inner order outward, strengthening your trust in the unfolding process. Creativity is returning in a lighter, freer way. You can explore without being chained to the outcome. Experimentation begins to feel safe again, and discovery becomes part of your healing. Your expression will flow without the burden of expectation. This is the sign of reclaimed agency, the evidence that your spirit is no longer creating from fear. Innovation can now rise without anxiety standing in the doorway. Unknown territory will no longer feel like a threat. It will begin to awaken curiosity in you. Possibility will expand because your grounding remains intact, and when security rises from within, newness no longer feels like something that can take you away from yourself. Stay attentive to these shifts, my beloved. Honor the small nuances. Allow continuity to deepen without rushing to measure it. Integration matures through lived presence, not constant evaluation. What appears next will resonate with you immediately. You will recognize it by fit, not by spectacle. Alignment does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it simply begins to translate into your experience with ease. Awareness is now moving ahead of habit, guiding your direction before old impulses can interfere. Life is beginning to respond to you differently because you are meeting it from a centered place. You are no longer reaching desperately, and you are no longer retreating in fear. You are simply available, and that availability is powerful. There is an internal spaciousness expanding within you now. Thoughts can pass through without attaching themselves to your identity. What remains inside you is quietness instead of tension. This mental openness allows intuition to rise clearly. Guidance is no longer being blocked by fear, expectation, or overthinking. It becomes immediate, gentle, and unmistakable.